Okay, so we're on the air now, I think.
Jump scares. We're still do jump scares.
We don't. I don't want to let Halloween go. I just hit the HEB for the Halloween candy leftovers. It's quite a haul, man. Quite a haul. Like they were pushing it. They were just pushing it off the shelves onto the floor and filling it up with Christmas candy.
I noticed that. I noticed that there's a lot of people that were buying Christmas candy that were desperate because they were too late to buy the Halloween candy. So I wonder how many trick-or-treaters got Christmas candy canes in their bag.
Yeah, for sure.
You're right. I don't want it to go away. And I was actually one of the aggressive decorators. Like I got my decorations out in
audio visual aids in your decorations.
Did. Yeah, that was. People are like, why do you have a TV on your porch? And thank you, YouTube, to our fellow YouTube creators out there who actually made. Oops, sorry, I heard an echo. But yeah, I found one of those 8 hours of Halloween ambiance and just went to town, and it was great.
Yeah, and you said you had folks taking pictures of your decorations or posing with your decorations?
Yeah, of course. Well, one of them was Grogu, so that's a sure thing, Baby Yoda. But the 12-foot Mr. Jack-o'-lantern got a lot of love.
Yeah.
And then the zombies trying to break out the windows.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe we turn our studio into a haunted house when we upgrade studios.
At least a couple days a year.
Right? Mm-hmm. I did not get a chance to go to House of Torment this year. But I did watch our video when we did the walkthrough through House of Torment, which we watch every year.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one. Wait, is that the walk? That's the edited video, right? Because there's another one, or somewhere there exists just the audio of us walking through it.
Yeah, that's fine. And there was only like a small audio clip in there.
Yeah, I think
so
because
I would love to get that full version.
That got shut down, I think, by the
the
House of Torment legal team. They said you can't run the whole audio, but it does exist somewhere. The entire audio of us going through there, we were mic'd and everything.
Man, yeah, that was good. That's a good time. I think that is our destiny. Maybe our studio is just going to be a haunted house. So when you have people like coming in live to be guests on the show, just like, sure, just go enter over there, and then like 10 minutes later they find us and they're pissed.
That's quite the haunted house idea. Hello, inner tubes.
What's up, inner tubes? Yes, we got a spot show. You're still I know you got a little bit of a jet lag, a little bit. I think it was a 7-hour time difference.
It was a 6-hour time difference.
6, got it.
But, it was over there just enough time to get acclimated to that time zone and then came back.
I just assumed, again, Roddy Piper was, cutouts where he was going to be everywhere, all over the country.
Oh, I tell you what, when we went to the main event there for the conference, they actually played us in with bagpipes as they opened the door, and I was like, I need this all the time now. I need to be played in with bagpipes everywhere I go.
Theme music.
Yeah.
Pro wrestling and I'm Gonna Get You Sucker knows that theme music sets the tone.
Good hero always has their own theme music.
That's right. Every good hero should have one.
How do I sound? Do I sound okay? Does that sound weird? I got a little bit of the Scottish flu.
The Scottish flu. You sound okay. Well, that means that you got to take Scottish cough medicine, which has to be way better.
Yeah. It is.
What is Halloween being our favorite time of year, one of our favorite times of year. What's the Halloween situation over there? Does it exist? Does it not exist?
It was pretty mild. They don't overdo it on Halloween. We were out on, the Halloween Saturday there. And honestly, the scariest thing was the football hooligans running around because there was a game that day. And like, it's like Lucha Lottie was there and she was like, I can't tell if they're mad or if they're happy and I don't know what's going on. They're just yelling, and everybody in Scotland is great, but they take football seriously,
Yeah, it's no joke.
A soccer to the layperson that just tuned in.
And I always, it's catching on here in Austin, right? The Austin Football Club is trying to be very elaborate, and then they have a lot of the chants. They somehow imported those chants because I've always made it to like, U.S. sports, all the chants are 2 to 3 words. They're very grunty, very ooh, ooh, ooh. Where in Europe, it's very musical.
Yeah.
Right? They sing entire songs.
Right. And they got a lot
And
of they got a lot of traditional songs and dances and all kinds of stuff going on over there. Do you know they call potatoes jackets?
No, I did not know that.
Now you know.
Jackets, so
Yeah.
fried jackets and deep. Can I get a
No,
baked jacket?
like a baked potato is a jacket.
Oh, just a jacket.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. No, I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah.
What do they call a Whopper?
I don't know, but they sell gravy separate from the mashed potatoes, which was strange.
Oh, really? You got to pay extra, or
Yeah.
just a separate?
Yeah, if you want gravy, that's an extra purchase. But you do get a
Okay.
whole little thing of gravy. Not just a
Got
squirt
it.
on your potatoes.
Also, it was for the potatoes. Got it. Was it white gravy or brown gravy?
Brown gravy, bro, at KFC.
Brown gravy?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I did not know that. I know in Italy, some people call they call sauce gravy too. So I don't know if it's red gravy, brown gravy, and white gravy.
Yeah, it's brown gravy. But I mean, I'm sure there's other types of gravy. This is not a gravy show, so we don't have to get too deep into the gravy alternatives.
We do have a playlist. We do have a playlist called Food Fight for some of our snacks. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share and see some of those new playlists. And we did some housekeeping last week. We took advantage. We dropped Halloween content every day, but YouTube was unlocking features like crazy last week.
I noticed
bro.
it changed while I was away. It
Yeah,
looks
they
it looks all
changed.
different. It looks cool, but it looks different.
So YouTube is ready to take, right now it's Elon Musk versus Stephen King on Twitter.
Yeah.
YouTube is like, I'll take all of you. So basically the community tab, and check out our community tab. We've already started using it. The community tab in YouTube is going after Twitter. The shorts tab is going after Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
The live streams where we are, they're going after Spotify because they're getting into the podcast market too, YouTube.
Yeah. Well,
So
personally, I welcome our new overlords, and I'd like to go ahead and bend the knee to YouTube right now if they're listening. Says we appreciate the steps you're taking, and we're all in.
I think they did a great job. Usually when there's a big change like this, it's no hate to our fellow UI, UX developers out there. That experience usually is not pleasant, but hats off to YouTube. It turned out really good. It's so easy to put a post on there. And right now you're just going to be focusing on your content. It's not going to necessarily get toxic. You can just use it to plug your show. You can tag other shows.
Yeah.
I populated our channels tab. So we have friends in there. We have friends of the shows. We have shows that we're friends with. We have people that are going to come on our show
Soon. Yeah, we're going to have mad guests soon. You did some good stuff while I was away, man. I came back. I saw the subs been creeping up. The views are creeping up. Looking good.
Yeah, we're going all in with YouTube. But this is
we're all in
dancing
YouTube.
with the girl. Yeah, so if you hear us, thank you. We're in.
Yeah, we're in.
So,
we've deleted TikToks off our phones.
Yeah.
We've come to the.
Yeah.
We realize it's Chinese spyware now.
I can't. Everyone says, and look, it's the internet. We all know that you're dealing with bots, but TikTok, they're not even trying, bro. They're not even trying. Like user 657ZLTRMB234 wants to follow you. Would you like to? It's like, oh yeah, that's a real person. It's like, come on, they're not even trying anymore.
Dude, that's from your high school. ZMB 442. He was in your English class.
Yeah, that's right. He sat right behind you. He used to hit you with spitballs all the time. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
And YouTube now has handles. So we are at Dose Incredibles. We still have our custom URL, with this / Dose Incredibles network, but we're actually at Dose Incredibles. So we've got a handle now too. So Google's going after everybody. Good for them. It's time. This is like, we're doing a daily, a monthly budget here, and you're going through and you realize this is part of everybody's ecosystem. This is part of their lifestyle. This is part of their watching habits. Like, when was the last time that you've gone to a movie that you didn't go watch a breakdown afterwards?
On YouTube, I mean, that's my favorite part, honestly. After the movie's over, immediately I come home and watch the breakdowns to see other people's opinions on them.
Yeah, and it's great. All the stuff that you missed, it's great. It used to be you'd go to the movies and you'd go with a group of friends, and then you'd go to dinner afterwards and you'd talk about it. Now, if you can go by yourself, you just go home and your friends are on YouTube and they're telling you all about it, those breakdowns.
Yep.
They're great. Emergency Awesome, Heavy Spoilers, Screen Crush. I can't tell you how much stuff that you're like, okay, I may have missed that, but I'm not going to rewind it because Ryan Airy will tell me about it.
Yeah. And then you watch the breakdowns and you want to go see the movie again anyway. So it's like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
it all adds up. It's its own ecosystem. I don't know if this is good for us or bad for us, but it's definitely what we're doing.
Yeah, we're all in, but it doesn't stop the repeat viewings. But speaking of repeat viewings, I'm going to give you the Iggy for the first spot. This was a repeat viewing and a new viewing at the exact same time while you were gone. Dawn of the Dead, remastered in 3 dimensions, not 1, not 2, 3 dimensions. And after I went and saw Jaws in IMAX, and then I kind of had that FOMO that you saw Friday the 13th in 3D.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I'm not going to miss this one. But what was interesting about this one is this was shot in 1978.
Yeah.
Clearly not shot for 3D.
For sure.
So I was like, how are they going to do this?
Yeah.
And right out of the gate, I was like, holy shit, this is 3D.
So it really works. Damn,
it worked really well.
I need to check those times. I need to check those times. You said it's still playing.
Yeah, they extended. It was so successful, they extended it till Saturday. It was originally supposed to be a 4-day engagement, but now they extended it to Saturday. And we had it was all super fans in there, so it wasn't packed. So you really got to enjoy it. But so
I got to tell you, that Dawn of the Dead music gets me hyped.
Oh yeah,
especially that one thing. The one where they're clearing the zombies out of the parking lot with the trucks.
Oh yeah. It's so, and I had no idea. I didn't know the backstory. You probably did. You have more of a film background than me. I had no idea that was Dario Argento's house band called Goblin.
Yeah. You coming to the Goblin show? I got tickets for Goblin.
What?
Yeah, I got tickets for Goblin. They're doing Suspiria at the Paramount. I told you we're going to be at the Paramount all month, a bunch of times this month.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that offline. That's coming up on I don't know the date, but I got tickets for that too.
Oh, 100%. I would go to that. That would be a fantastic show. Yeah, we got a lot. We got Quentin Tarantino, Kevin Smith, now Goblin, all at the Paramount. Gotta love Austin. But anyway, yeah, I had no idea when I saw that. I was just filming the credits, and I was trying to by then it was like everybody was over, and it's not like you had spoilers. No one was upset that I had my phone out. I was trying to take some pictures. But it added that extra dimension, right? So sometimes it was blurry, sometimes it won't. And you can tell it wasn't like the red-blue, but there was definitely one side darker than the other.
Wait, did they give you red? Did they give you the red-blue glasses or the brown glasses?
No, they gave me the real,
okay,
what they call the real 3D glasses.
Yeah.
Those recyclable ones. And here's the thing and this is what I was going to ask you. Could they have possibly put in insert shots? Or do you think there were some shots that were designed to shoot at the camera and we just didn't think anything of it back then because clearly it wasn't 3D, but Romero may still say, oh, this will be cool if like when this glass blows up, it'll shoot right at the camera.
I'm sure he would attempt stuff like that, but the thing with Dawn of the Dead is there's a lot of extra footage. That there's multiple cuts, right? I'm guessing that this was probably the original theatrical cut, but there's like the extended cut, there's the European cut. There's a lot of different versions that they could have pulled shots from.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I would say there was close to maybe a dozen really 3D coming at you Friday the 13th type shots. Remember how you're telling they were intentionally trying to shoot, like make it coming at you?
Yeah.
I didn't think, they're not going to have any of those shots, but they did. Like the one scene when Roger was trying to hotwire the truck and the zombie like hit the glass behind him. Like the glass flew out there, and I did one of those gimmicks that I like jumped, like I stole it. Like the glass was coming at me, and I was like, wow, I fell for that. Was like the first one that I noticed. Then the iconic scene that I think we all remember was when he's sliding down the escalator. I didn't think about it, but he slid into the shot.
Oh yeah.
And his feet came right at the camera, and that was another 3D shot.
Nice.
Dude, it was great. There was a couple
now, was it
blood
like
splatters.
did it look like it was coming out of the screen?
It did.
Yeah, it had that old school 3D look.
Yeah, so it's that's what I was wondering is like they didn't do it, so how did they insert these?
I don't know, because like the thing about 3D is like modern 3D kind of just looks like the screen is deep. Right?
Yes.
It looks like you can see into the screen, whereas the old 3D really looks like it's coming out of the screen at you.
Yeah, and there was only a few of those. For the majority of the film, they just added that deep screen feel, which it looked really good. Like even like the newscast in the beginning, right, when she was setting up, a lot of that looked really good because they had like the front and center shot and all the background people like scrambling all behind her and stuff added that extra dimension in there. And it just it was almost close to $20 to see a movie that we've owned and we've seen dozens of times. But
I literally just watched it in my living room the other day on a pop screen.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember when you did that. Yeah. And this is still worth it. This is still worth it because there's something about seeing it in the big screen, on the big screen. And we talked about this before when we saw, what was it, Amusement Park? That George Romero has a weird knack for all of his stuff looking like documentaries. Like he's not booking actors, he's booking his friends.
Like I said, well, my thing is always George Romero is the corporate video hero. He got over doing corporate videos, you know. He did like, you know, local commercials, local little documentaries for business. The amusement park itself was a corporate video that got out of hand. It was a video for a church, which I guess a church for video is not corporate, but it is. But it was a corporate video, you know. So he's got that style of everything just looking real.
And it was, man, like all the people, like remember all the stuff in the beginning when they had he called them the rednecks are enjoying this, and they were going in the hunting lines and stuff. They just like regular people, like, here, let me get a shot of you pouring your friend some coffee and, you know, messing with your bullets, and it's just none of these people felt like actors.
Yeah.
It felt like we were watching a weird newscast, like a surreal newscast.
Well, and the zombies don't feel like actors either.
No,
they feel like they're not over zombieing. You know what I mean? They're just they have like one gimmick that they do, and they just stick with it, and that's it. And they just do it for that shot. You know, no one's trying to be an over dramatic zombie. And
it did make you appreciate. If you had to choose between like fast zombies and slow zombies, I think we live in a world where there's room for both, and the rules in this world are as follows: the zombies are slow. Because in this universe, the zombies are evolving, right? They're starting to learn. And I remember, right, Bub and Day of the Dead, right? That's when they were really starting to study. I didn't realize that started in this one.
Yeah. And it continues in Land. Did you see Land of the Dead?
Yeah. I remember you told me to watch Land.
Is the continuation. Now you've got Big Daddy, who is the evolution of Bub.
Yeah. And I just for some reason growing up, I don't remember it, but it was more evident in this one than ever, right? You had they're going to the mall, they're trying to do what they did. They had the gun, and then they were like kind of looking at the gun, and they were doing all that. It's like, man, I really don't remember all of this because I was terrified.
Yeah. But
I had my own personal Mandela effect for Dawn of the Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, you know, Tom Savini was in it as, you know, the leader, I guess, of the nomad biker gang. For some reason, I thought he was the one that had that very famous scene when the zombies put him on the ground and they start digging in his inside and you see the intestines and he's,
No, that was Rhodes from Day of the Dead.
Right.
Yeah.
That was not him. And I was like, for some reason, I swear, I don't remember Tom Savini doing the job by just getting sniped by Peter from the tile in the ceiling, and then he's done.
Yeah. But he does make a reemergence in Land of the Dead.
That's right. He is in there.
Yeah. As the same character, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize. So he was in his same getup.
Yeah.
So he survived all of that.
Yeah. And technically, I feel like that character is also canon in Robert Rodriguez, because isn't that Sex Machine from...
he is Sex Machine and From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
He clearly could be canon in that. Wow, you just tied two universes together.
Yeah.
The multiverse is real. The Hollywood multiverse.
The Hollywood zombieverse.
So I was trying to think of some stuff that was 1978 type dialogue that wouldn't be appropriate for today's audience. And honestly, dude, there was really only like one big one, that you're like, ooh, you kind of squirmed in the seat. You know, you had that one SWAT guy that was kind of flipping out, and then he was hitting everybody with. He went down the list of all the racial slurs.
Why is he so mad?
Yeah, he was furious.
Are you serious? He seems unreasonably angry.
Yeah, and like you can tell that Roger wanted to do something about it, and he's like, forget it. Let's just leave it be.
Yeah.
But that one was bad. But what got the biggest pop for being inappropriate in the movie, and it was a laugh pop, was when she's like, she's pregnant, isn't she? And he's like, yep. And next scene, she's like, she's taking a big drag off the cigarette.
It was the 70s, bro. It was a different time.
Yeah, it was just like, my mom smoked the healthy cigarettes when she was pregnant with me. Yeah, they were the brown ones, they were menthols.
Virginia Slims. It's the thinner, less nicotine.
Yeah, so they weren't as dangerous. So I
like the part where it's always like the beginning of when they're taking off and everyone's looking for cigarettes. It's like, hey, you got any cigarettes? And like, nope. And as soon as the chopper leaves, they all light up. Yeah. That's like the first sign that everyone's out for themselves, bro. We're on our own.
That did get a pop too, because you're right. All of them whipped out cigarettes.
Yeah, because it's like, you know what? Like in regular civilized society right now, anybody who smokes will gladly share a cigarette with someone else who smokes because they'll want somebody to smoke with. You know,
right?
Like and cigarettes are expensive now. They cost a lot. They're damn near $10 for a pack of cigarettes. But still, if you're a smoker and then another smoker needs a smoke, they'll spot you. You know,
yeah,
it's like the pay it forward to smokes. But in Dawn of the Dead, like totally, it's like, nope, we got none. And as soon as they're clear, they all four of them light up like vindictively.
Yeah, that got a big pop in there too. And there's something about, clearly, it creates the ambiance of, like, I always say 70s horror movies to me is the scariest generation. And I think it's because that generation comes from, like, let's just do this. We're going to smoke. We're going to drink. Our kids are drinking whiskey. We're going to do all this in front of them. No Fs were given at all in the 70s, and it added to it. And then they have, like, really graphic scenes in a lot of 70s horror.
For sure.
But this one still had a touch of a comedy vibe. Would you agree or disagree? A comedy vibe. Would you?
Sorry, check this out. I mean, no, it definitely. I mean, it's satire.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just the music, the closing music, right? What's the closing music? Is that silly circus music?
Which also is Goblin, right?
It's the Robot Chicken music that they stole. But like, yeah, it's just like it's definitely a satire. I mean, I never found Dawn of the Dead scary. I mean, I know you said you're terrified of it. To me, it never felt scary. It was like an adventure movie. You know what I mean? I think it's the movie. Like, if not for Dawn of the Dead, you wouldn't have 1,000 other video games that exist right now. It's sort of like it kicked that off. It was the survival movie.
Oh wow, you're right. Yeah, this is more of a Resident Evil than
Yeah.
than any other zombie movie for sure.
Yeah. I lost my. Sorry, I still get the Scottish flu, but
you were talking about it was just like the Scottish flu.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It was more of an adventure movie. It just had a lot of visuals that scared me, but it also had a lot of visuals that cracked me up. Right.
Yeah. Because it's a comedy. It's satire.
Yeah.
And then you've got that whole sequence when they're all okay. They've secured the mall. And everything's cool, and now they just go shopping. And now you're just having that part where the world has ended. You got a shopping mall to yourself, so it's just like, let's go.
He had the little black and white TV under his arm when he was walking.
Let's go get a
jewelry.
Bunch of different hats, try on some jewelry, eat a bunch of fancy cheeses. Why not? And they had a gun store at that mall. I don't think that's the case anymore, but that's fortunate for them.
Yeah, they did have a gun store.
Yeah.
And they played that, also another Goblin song. They had like that. safari music that they played.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I guess, at that time, that was one of those things, like you're just living the dream, right? That, it was very, malls were just getting big. Like,
it was a different, it was a different story. It was a different story. Like, they were still figuring out malls. They didn't realize that the mall needed to have a Spencer's Gifts and a Sharper Image and an Orange Julius, and that was like the formula. It was like, let's try all kinds of crazy stores. Let's put a gun store. Let's put a cheese store or whatever. Let's try different things and put it in the mall and see if it works.
Because what's her name, Fly Girl, was kind of like, what is that? He's like, I think that's one of those shopping malls.
It's one of those indoor shopping malls.
Yeah, like,
why do they have so much spam there? Also, by the way, there's like cases of spam.
Oh yeah, that got a pop too. It's like, you got a can opener? It's like, then don't knock it.
But why is there so much spam at this shopping mall? Is there a spam store?
I don't know, was that a last second helicopter pad that they threw on the roof too? And then they had all like the food reserved. So I don't know if that somewhere along the way they were gonna make it a makeshift survival center, and then like, forget it, we can't make this work. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's just make it a shopping mall instead.
But dude, it's still, the engagement is going all the way till Saturday. If you can shake it. So I would try to make it happen.
Yeah, I want to try.
Just go in the back. Just go sit separated. Like we had quadrants. They were all super fans there.
Yeah,
and then we were separated into 4 different quadrants.
Yeah.
So, I'm not the theater that is playing. It's not an IMAX theater, but it's still pretty big. But it's very old school. But it was very fitting because I don't remember how eerie it felt to sit in a movie theater and just stare at a blank screen.
Yeah.
Like, man, these guys didn't even bother to get ads for this.
Oh, that's right. They don't do any ads, right? Okay.
No, movie didn't start until like 10 minutes before the movie started. Nice. All of a sudden, I was like, where the hell is Maria Menounos? Like, what's going on?
I need some trivia. What local businesses are around here that I might, frequent after this movie?
It's a captive audience, but yeah, they didn't do that. But it was very fitting because it felt like an old theater for this type of movie worked really well.
Yeah.
Because even afterwards, I got out of the theater and it was dark and there wasn't that many people in the parking lot. And I was like, and I did, this was a solo adventure. I was by myself and I was like, man, this is just like, this feels really cool.
You're rocking it by yourself. You can get Jack to go see the Dawn of the Dead 3D.
No. I convinced him to go see Pray for the Devil the day before. I couldn't get him to do 2 horror movies 2 days in a row. But this also was not at Alamo. I think if it was Alamo, he would have been like, I'll make this work. But he's like, where's it at? I was like, it starts with an R. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
But highly, highly suggest that work. And let me just do a quick, for those viewers who are watching this in the future and have not seen this, it is Stephen Flyboy Andrews, Peter Washington, Roger Trooper DeMarco, and Francine Fran Flygirl Parker star as survivors of the outbreak who barricade themselves inside a suburban shopping mall amid mass hysteria.
Yeah.
Just a small little synopsis. Did you know that budget didn't even bust $1 million?
No, yeah.
Now, granted.
Yeah, I knew that.
But the whole backstory that I had no idea is because I feel like I didn't really get into deep Dario Argento until you started schooling me on a lot of old school stuff. I had no idea how much he was intertwined with a lot of these early movies, these influences. You hear Tarantino talk about it, right? You hear it on all the podcasts, Eli Roth talking about it. I just had no idea, to the point where he's like, oh, I like this guy. I'm going to help make this movie.
Right.
And it released in Italy before it even released in the U.S.
That's right. And it released over there as Zombie, and there's also a Zombie 2.
So it was actually released as Zombie? I had no idea.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
The budget was $26 million according to the internet.
Really?
Yeah.
So I wonder how much that had modified or for.
Oh wait, no, you're wrong. I'm wrong. It's $640,000.
640, and it made 66 million, right?
The budget, 26 million, was the budget of the 2004 version. The original version, 640,000. That's less than your house, right?
Yeah,
it's just like
that in a shopping mall.
For the less,
they got a whole mall. They got helicopters
for your mortgage. They made Dawn of the Dead.
And how many? I mean, obviously they had tons of, like, this isn't CGI. All those zombie hordes were extras. Those were just literally George Romero Pennsylvania friends.
Right, because he was over in Pennsylvania as the local director, so he just announced he was making a movie. People show up.
and you can tell these weren't actors too. Yeah, so I didn't know. So Dawn of the Dead, followed by 4 official sequels beginning with Day, and a separate series of unofficial Italian-made sequels beginning with 1979 Zombie 2.
Well, there's unofficial Italian-made sequels to everything. There's like a Terminator sequel of an Italian one.
How great would it be to go see that, like, dubbed in Italy?
Yeah.
How fun that would feel great. But Zombie 2, which is I always used to see, where you see it in magazines or you just see it on VHS traders, you'd see the zombie fighting a shark. Right. And I could never figure out when I was younger where that came from. And it was years later that I figured out, that it was Zombie 2, which turns out it was
Zombie 2, yeah.
Yeah, but again, I had no idea that how much he was intertwined with this. Another fun fact here is it's like its predecessor. It garnered large international cult following and was chosen by Empire magazine as one of the 500 greatest movies of all time. Not greatest zombie movies, greatest movies of all time, according to Empire magazine.
To be fair,
Dawn of the Dead.
To be fair, that's a pretty steep list. 500 movies. You're in the top 500.
Hey, that, back in the wrestling days, that was a big deal to get on Apter's top 500. Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but I was 436 in Apter's PWI 500. And then it was even a little bit more disheartening when you found that he made up half of those names. Like, oh, that wasn't a real wrestler. Yeah. I just needed to I'm a writer, man. I'm creating here. Don't mess with my art. The only thing I wish they would have done was I wish they would have made Gimmick glasses that you got to keep.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I would have loved to have those in there for sure.
What prompted this? I was just kind of out of the blue to do a Dawn of the Dead 3D. Nobody asked for this.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm all for it. Start taking these movies instead of doing remakes. And we're going to talk about a remake, and we'll explain why you can't do a remake. Just remaster the old one and add a gimmick to it, and we're there. Right? This is like,
yeah. I'd have been in for a Dawn of the Dead IMAX or Dawn of the Dead whatever.
Yeah, why not, man? This is like, now if you can do all of this stuff, it's probably going to be cheaper than a remake, and you're just going to get the people that want to experience. We're at a generation now that clearly, like, I didn't see this in theaters, and I was born then. But how many people, like, beyond that? We have a generation now that they just consume content in such a high rate. There's no chance that they've seen any of these movies like past the 90s in theaters. So this will be like seeing a new release for them.
I only have time for 8-second videos, like 1,000 of them at a time.
I think, yeah, and we gotta defend that with all we got. Got to keep the theater alive. I don't care if it becomes a boutique experience. I don't need it to be a big box, and honestly, I'm more interested in the filmmakers surviving more than like the corporate side of it, but it is what it is. I think there's room for both. I'll go to a popcorn flick and I'll go to a boutique flick. I don't care. But one thing I was going to bring up this to you, as you got a picture of Flyboy there after he got attacked, another famous GIF. People know these from GIFs, like, oh, that's the GIF of everybody coming out into the elevator. Like, that was a pretty gnarly scene. But I saw on Shudder one of the documentaries with Tom Savini. Was like, man, I was so young back then. I didn't know the stuff. It just doesn't look like real blood, and it's really bothersome. And like, it bothered him. He's like, it looks like some kind of ketchup. And like right there, like, if you see that picture, it looks good. Like, that looks like he's bleeding. But I know what he's talking about. The blood squirting out was very, like, it had a bright red to it. So it didn't, but I think that looks great. That's like a great, like, that's an action figure that I'd like to have on my shelf.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for it. Who wants to see real blood? I want to see theatrical blood.
Yeah,
just
no,
like in the
the
Japanese they use paint. They use actual paint as the blood.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be. I mean, we're there for, we'll suspend our belief. To me, I feel like some of the bites, like you're asking like earlier, it's like you weren't scared of this. I think what got me the most were the bites. Because growing up with 3 other brothers, there's 4 boys, there's a lot of fights in our house. And you were labeled a dirty fighter when you're biting each other, right? You weren't allowed to bite each other. And that fear was like, and I used to think, like, what if you just, instead of just biting me, like, what if you kept going through and you, like, pulled a chunk off? Like, what would that look like? And then I see this movie and I'm like, looks horrendous.
Because when you bite someone, you physically bite someone, you sort of like, you're pulling back on it. You don't commit to the bite. If you commit to the bite and you go through the flesh, which is totally doable, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's the whole of the story, but.
Yeah. And so when I saw that scene when the wife in the beginning went to hug her husband and she got it like right on the trap and she just took that bite out. I was like, oh my God, that's what that looks like. I want nothing to do with that.
I know Eli Roth always said that he was bothered by the screwdriver in the ear. That was always a big one for him.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, they had there was some pretty again, they had some graphic stuff for its time, but this was a great, it's very hard to have a film like Night of the Living Dead, right? That you consider a classic, you consider timeless, and then its next one it sits right up there with it. Like, more people know about Night of the Living Dead, but nobody poo-poos Dawn of the Dead.
No.
It's up there too. Like you said, it's one of the first adventure movies, action movies, memorable zombie movies. Dawn of the Dead is right up there with its predecessor.
For sure.
So
I don't think anybody doubts that.
Yeah. I'm all for it. So if you get a chance, if it's coming to your town, it's a Regal event. So I don't know if Regal somehow got the rights to this. Not Alamo, not Cinemark, not AMC. This is a Regal event. Check your local Regal theater, and by the time you watch this, it may be too late, and then you'll have to hope that they do it again next year. Yeah. But if you get an opportunity to see any movie in 3D, and if it's one of your favorites, you need to do it.
Fair enough.
We paused.
Yeah.
I paused, sorry. I didn't know if you how you're feeling. You want to roll right into our next spot, or you want to take a quick break?
Yeah, we can do a real quick BRB, just a short one.
All right. Little shorty, and we'll BRB.
Just be right back. Hold on.
Want a beer? Mm-hmm. This is really an interesting six-pack. See how it's completely covered? See the ends? Covered. Mm-hmm. That's so light won't get in. Light can spoil beer. And this is good beer. So they don't want light messing around with it.
Well, in that case, why don't we turn off the lights?
Where are you going? To get a Stroh's. That's about a 200-mile hike through heavy snow. I know. If you think of it, get two.
From one beer lover to another's Stroh's.
I don't know what to do. What would you do if you were me? America's got this beer. It's called Stroh's Light, and it's fire brewed. It's not like any other beer. So I call the State Department and say, let's make a trade. Our cigars for your Stroh's Light. They say, Fidel, you're going to have to forget about it.
It's not the same as other lights. It's fire-brewed Stroh's Light.
We're only 90 miles away. We can't even get a decent beer.
Boy, I'm bored.
Don't be bored. Join the party. Call 1-976-8888. There's a great time waiting for you right now. Meet new friends or just listen in. Everybody's doing it. So call 1-976-8888.
So where was that party?
So what are you waiting for? Don't be left out on all the fun. Call right now, 1-976-8888. 88 cents per minute billed to your phone. Brought to you by Omegaphone.
Just like you, I was really skeptical about which one of the party lines is really the best. It's 1-976-BEST. It's easier than going to some singles bar. The phone's right there within your reach. And it's a real kick because you get started talking with everyone on the line right away. I got together with this guy I met on the best party line, and I'll tell you, it's fun, exciting, and the best way for you to meet someone new. The best party line. It's just a phone call away.
Do you sometimes sit alone, wishing for the perfect fantasy? Has love passed you by? Do you dream of encounters with a perfect mate? Or spending precious moments getting close to someone you could really love? For just 99 cents per minute, indulge your fantasy. It's live. Call 1-976-DATE now.
All right, we're back.
That was a big pop.
Yeah, we're back.
I got a big pop while you were gone because I was awake, right? Because I actually had trick-or-treaters coming all the way till about 9:30, which is kind of late-ish, right, in the suburbs.
Yeah, sure.
So I stayed up, and I was like, yeah, I got to keep watching movies. I was watching a lot of horror movies. I kept Shudder on. I was watching the old Joe Bob Halloween special.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you're scrolling Twitter at the same time. And 11:45, this post comes up from Mariah Carey as a witch, and I was like, what? Why is she dancing as a witch? And dude, it was a masterful troll, because you hear people when they start hearing Mariah too early, they're like, it's too early for that. I love that she leaned into that, and this drop was not a coincidence that she dropped it 10 minutes before Halloween ended, and it's like, it's time. And I was like, wow.
And it goes right into All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah. And then it went into there.
She's got to love it. She makes $1 billion a year every Christmas just off of that song. That's a shoot. I'm not even exaggerating. She makes $1 billion off that song once a year.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's to have something that you're just going to keep like you said, I think a lot of low key people like say they don't want to like it.
Yeah, you don't like it. You don't like it in front of your high class friends. You don't like it in front of your snooty woke friends. But when you're in the car alone, doing your crap job, and it comes on, you
like it.
It's a banger. It's a banger. Like I said, when she says I won't even wish for snow, it gets me every time. That's how bad she wants you for Christmas. That she would give up the snow.
She would give up snow.
She'd give up snow to be with you. I mean, come on. I choke up.
I think it's great. Look, and I respect the people that want to keep the spooky season as long as possible. And like I said, I leaned into it. I started the spooky season early because I was like, I want at least 6 weeks out of this. But then again, at November 1st, after seeing that post, and I'm very respectful, like November 1st, I actually blocked it on my calendar. I take Halloween down because I'm already ready for next year. I was like, I don't want to pretend it's still happening. Where I feel like the Christmas, you can kind of let that linger into New Year's, into like a week. But like November 1st, I don't care when it is, Halloween's coming down.
Yeah.
And when that post came, I'm like, shit, should I just put the holiday stuff up now?
Yes.
Like, should I do it?
Do it.
She's here. It's here. It's time.
Yes,
it's time.
I'm sorry, but you gotta let your Halloween decoration bug just spill into Christmas. You know what's on I just added this on Shudder. Have you seen Anna in the Apocalypse?
No, but I actually put it in the queue because I missed it when it came in the theater drop.
You've got to see that one. That one's great. Maybe you should watch it and then I'll rewatch it and let's do a spot on it on a house show sometime. But like, I think that's one of those ones that can be a holiday classic. If it gets some steam under it, it could be the yearly viewing kind of a thing, you know? Because the songs in it are great. And just for folks who don't know, it's a zombie Christmas zombie musical.
And I think that's perfect. And I was so happy. Like, is this the first year that Shudder got it?
I'm not sure.
Like when I saw it, and it dropped in 2017.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're right that this was it. For some reason I missed it in theaters, and it like came out and it was gone.
I saw it at Fantastic Fest. I don't know how big of a theater run it got, but
okay. But it's like it's early. Like there's no reason, like you said, Shudder or some other Tubi or one of these other networks, Screenbox. That's like something that you can play for 24 hours around the clock, like TBS does Christmas Story.
Yeah. But the songs in it are legit good, and that's what I think really works about Anna and the Apocalypse. And we'll talk about this again sometime. But it's that it starts off as a shoot musical and then de-evolves into a zombie horror movie. But the quality of songs does not depreciate throughout the movie. It stays good all the way to the very last song, when it ends on a very like Dawn of the Dead kind of a note. I'll let you watch it, and we'll talk about it later. But you should definitely let that one enter your queue.
Yeah, it might be one that you let rock. They had me sold when it was Shaun of the Dead meets La La Land. Oh, and did you know that was one of the distributors was Orion Pictures?
Yeah, they're still around. They're floating around. They just put out the new Bill and Ted movie.
Oh, they did that one too, huh?
Yeah, they're lingering out there. Yeah. Shaun of the Dead meets what? La La Land?
La La Land.
I suppose. I mean, I don't know. That's just like, that sounds like some snooty writer reaching for two references. I think it's kind of its own thing.
I like that.
If anything, it's like High School Musical meets Dawn of the Dead, I would say.
That's better.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that actually does sound better. Yeah, you're right. They were probably reaching.
Yeah, it's just like, what two references? I don't even like horror movies, blah, blah, blah. It's its own thing because it maintains the musical aspects of it as it gets bloodier and more horror infused, and the things kind of overlap, you know.
I think
I recommend.
I think we did this last year, right? We started talking about holiday horror movies.
Yeah.
And I think people are leaning into it a little bit more. Now I feel like there's at least one a year. And Anna and the Apocalypse was the one for 20. Like this year, I think it's Violent Night.
Yep.
You know, with Hopper.
Well, last year we saw Black Friday.
Black Friday was the one last year. So I feel like they always have one. And look, I'm here for it. Anything that's got a theme. Love theme shows.
Yeah.
All about the theme shows.
Yeah, for sure.
All for it. So let's jump into, speaking of theme, I wanted to try to consume a lot of spooky movies during spooky season. And one of them that caught my attention was on Tubi, the remake for Terror Train.
Tubi. If you don't have money for a movie, there's always Tubi.
Dude, you just wrote their log line.
Please, we
you
need
don't
to get
have
a Tubi.
money for a movie. Get you some Tubi.
We need to get a Tubi sponsorship. We need to start working on that now. Because if there's 2 apps, if you only have 2 apps, but you can only afford one, get Shudder and Tubi.
Shudder and Tubi. And Tubi's got a ton of content.
Tubi's got a great library.
It's a huge library.
They've got great stuff on Tubi. It seems a little bit curated, a lot like Shudder is,
Yeah.
And it's quality stuff, and they're not as bad as I don't know if you watch Pluto, which will sort of cut to commercials so randomly that it's jarring. Tubi's got the little countdown. It's like, we're going to commercial in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and so you're ready for it. Whereas like Pluto will be just like, it's like, damn it, she's dead, and then it's like it cuts right to an ad for whatever prostate medicine.
Yeah, I don't think they time their commercial. I've heard that Pluto does that, but no, I watched the remake of Terror Train, the 2022 remake, and you're right, the ads were not all that distracting. I like the way you complain when you watch Terrifier. You're like, I kind of needed the breaks.
Yeah, you don't realize you need the breaks. Look, I understand why folks don't want to watch ads, and if you don't want to watch ads, that's great. That's okay. And you know what? We always have that option to not watch ads. Like whatever's on Tubi, if you don't want to watch the ad, you could probably pay $5 on Amazon and watch it without ads. But something about ads on the TV feels normal to me. And I feel like it's just a vibe, and I'm just like, the ad comes on, it's like, oh, let me go get something to drink now, or let me go to the bathroom now, or let me go do this now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just feels.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I love that their business model is like, people are like, this is great. Like, why didn't you think of this? It's like, bro, this has been network television since the 50s.
Yeah.
It's like, it's free because your sponsors are paying for it.
Right.
I mean, this isn't anything new. They just leaned into it. Because honestly, some of these new streamers, they'll like, yeah, you're still going to pay us and we'll still show you ads.
Yeah. And they're bad ads too. Like, I mean,
they're not good ads.
I feel like the ads on Tubi are okay.
Yeah, it was not bothering. And if they can find a way to curate those ads towards what I like,
yeah,
that's fine. Like, I will never say no to an ad that's a movie trailer.
And they'll figure that out eventually. But they've got a great library on Tubi. They get good stuff. It's worth having. You find I saw Terrifier on there.
I thought that this was a pretty big got, like, to get the rights to Terror Train. I mean, Terror Train, it's not like a very well-known slasher flick, but everybody knows it has Jamie Lee Curtis in it. I mean, they have one of
the Scream Queen,
one of the most known Scream Queens in there.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big IP for them to get.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do after watching it is I wanted to, and ironically, we just watched the original Terror Train.
It was on Joe Bob.
Probably Joe Bob, like less than a year ago. So let me give you the, what I want to do is compare the major differences between Terror Train 1980 and Terror Train 2022. Because what I didn't expect was a shot-for-shot remake with very little differences. But there was a few. So we'll go over, and they're actually pretty big ones.
Yeah.
So the synopsis for Terror Train 1980, directed by Roger Spottywood in his directorial debut, and he had Jamie Lee Curtis. Set aboard a moving train on New Year's Eve, the film follows a group of pre-med students holding a costume party who are targeted by a killer who steals their costumes after murdering some of the students to avoid being caught. So that's the whole gimmick. They're on a train. They're all in costumes. Every time the killer murders somebody, he steals their costume. Doesn't matter size, shape, color, gender. And it was a good gimmick. And the original Gimmick was pretty scary looking because he just kind of wore a Groucho Marx nose and glasses, but he had the train conductor hat, and then he was kind of holding a knife. Where this one...
Didn't he do magic tricks or something?
Did, yeah. So this was David Copperfield I don't know if this
That's
was
right.
his film
David
debut.
Copperfield was in the original Terror Train. I forgot about that.
He's in the original as the magician, which plays into the topic. And we'll do that as one of the main differences in this one. 2022 version versus 1980 version. They both play the red herring. Magician is played. There is a magician. There was no assistant for the magician in the 2022 version, where the assistant in the 1980 version played heavy into the spoiler, and we'll touch into it in the end, because when you find out who the killer is, you find out that the assistant was a costume for the killer. So I thought this was interesting, because that's a pretty big plot point.
I see.
Because in this new one, you find out the killer's been on the train all along as the assistant. And if you go back and watch the 1981, that assistant, she is very frightening looking, because it's bad drag. And it was very like, whoa, something feels off.
Yeah.
And that's what got you. Where they didn't go into this one, this magician in 2022, he wasn't exactly David Blaine. He was a little bit more of a Chris Angel, if Chris Angel was a soap opera. Chris Angel had a kid with John Stamos, it would be this magician. And he was David Copperfield was an angry kid, but felt a little bit more charming. And where this guy was like, man, look at all these spoiled kids. I wish this chain would just crash and kill them all. And you're like, bro, what? So they leaned heavily into that red herring. And this is going to be a spoiler review, but if you've seen the 1980, you've seen the 2022. And that's why I told you, it's like, if you didn't want to go back and watch it, you'll probably be okay.
Here, I didn't get to use the Halloween spoilers thing, so let's put it up right now.
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, yeah. Perfection.
Spoiled the new Terror Train,
right.
which, let's face it, no one's going to watch.
Yeah, it didn't have a lot of action in there. And
Yeah.
we haven't told you who the killer is, and I'll save that one for last, because that is the biggest and most abrupt change that they made between the original and the new one.
Yeah.
The next difference was 1980, it was a costume party for New Year's. 2022, it was a Halloween party on a train.
Yeah.
They completely just changed that. And, the original concept for Terror Train was, this was coming off the heels of the original Halloween movie. It's 1980. The producer was like, let's make Halloween on a train. How everyone wanted to do Die Hard on a plane. Die Hard they were trying to make Halloween on a train.
Yeah, but they did Die Hard on a train too. Twice.
Yeah, they did. But this was like, well, why don't we just make this Halloween night? Why does it have to be a costume party on New Year's Eve? So
it makes sense to me. If you're the did Tubi produce this movie, or did Tubi just buy it?
I think it was actually in the Brooklyn Film Festival.
So it had to be an indie movie, huh?
Yeah, it felt pretty clean. And I wish that was one of my gripes with this. I wish it felt a little grittier. But yeah, I didn't see who the actual production company was on it.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, there's not a lot of not a lot of information about it.
Does Terror Train have a big following?
I think Terror Train falls into one of those movies that you have to be. It's not a wide spread following. You're a little bit more into the horror genre, because I feel like there was a lot of movies I would put this with My Bloody Valentine, could both be in Canadian slashers.
This is a Canadian slasher as well?
Yeah, this is also Terror Train was considered a Canadian slasher. But it was a Canadian slasher whodunit with twists and turns. Yeah, so it was I was trying to find the production company who actually did it. But yeah, it actually had its debut in a film festival, but it felt like a made-for-TV movie, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, it felt like it was made for TV, and I didn't hate it. Let me just be clear, I didn't hate it, but The original one had that even though it was 1980, it just had that eerie feel where I never felt eerie here. But then again, a Groucho Marx mask to me now is a little scarier than a clown because we've seen scarier clown. We have Art the Clown. We live in a world with Art the Clown.
Yeah,
so your
all
clown
of the scary clowns are done. Like I would like Art the Clown and the clown in It. Art would fucking kill him, destroy him. And I shouldn't curse on the stream, but yes.
So this clown mask to me, I was just like, they probably should have got away. They probably should have did a different mask. I would have leaned into the Groucho Marx mask.
This really sounds a lot to me like another movie that was written by an algorithm.
You might. I don't think you're that far from
because it just seems it's like, okay, let's shot for shot remake the movie. Let's replace the killer mask with a clown mask, and let's change it from New Year's Eve to Halloween Eve. It just seems like they were just pulling out all the stops to make. My favorite Halloween movie does not take place on Halloween. It takes place on 4th of July. It's Return of the Living Dead. I don't think it matters what holiday. You don't have to set it on Halloween to really drive the point home. It just has to be a scary holiday or a scary day in general. But I don't know. It doesn't sound good. I'm just going to say it. I don't think there's.
I think you'd have to fast forward through watching it again. If you, it's. I'm giving you the major differences because the majority of them are no different. Like a lot of the costumes, other than the clown, are exactly the same. The kills are the same. Like the kid that's in the lizard costume, he gets killed with a bash to the mirror in both movies.
Yeah.
So the slow motion, I guess, even made for TV, this feels like it was an MTV horror movie.
So it's just like the algorithm said, let's not even change anything from the original movie. Let's just do the kills the same. Let's put the same costumes on everything. That part people liked, so let's leave that the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the guy who went crazy in the beginning, because he was being hazed and he got pranked into kissing a cadaver, and that it traumatized him and he lost his mind. So they did stick with that. But let's jump into the big change, because this is the big one. So in the original you had conductors, but the conductors like Shovels, and they were all kind of like the good guys, like they were trying to help. In this one they only had 2 conductors. And the one conductor, you can tell she was a gray-haired, older. You would know her. She was in the movie Signs. She played like the sheriff in Signs. She's a great actress.
Sure.
But something felt like, wow, they booked her for a big role. She's not just going to be the conductor. And then they had like another young, unknown, beautiful woman as the other conductor. And that's it. That was it for the conductor. So something there felt off to me. And then the swerve at the end. Do you remember the reveal at the end of the original Terror Train?
I don't.
So Kenny, who was the one who was pranked, who went crazy, and he was the killer in the original, is dressed like the conductor. He sits there with Alana, who's the Jamie Lee Curtis character, and he kind of holds her hands and he looks up and he has like the Dress to Kill type mask on there, and then they get into the fight, and they did all that in this movie too, but then the reveal was in the new one is Kenny was on the train and he was doing all this, and he wasn't dressed up as the magician's assistant. He was in a bunny costume the whole time, but he looked like he was kind of partying. And then the magician shoots him. The magician's still the red herring, but he still saves the day. But then something else happens, like somebody else is still killing. The Jamie Lee Curtis, the Alana character in this one, sits down with the conductor, and then the conductor sits up, and she looks up, and then you realize, oh, they are doing a Friday the 13th. Look what you've done to my boy. So the conductor was Kenny's mom. So they pulled a Friday the 13th, Scream 2, look, I'm going to make all you kids pay for making my son go crazy. And now the magician shot my son, killed my boy. So she went and killed the magician. So she took the Kenny role in there, and then they get into the big fight, and then she gets, the boot off the train instead of Kenny, who got booted off the train in the original one. So that was the big swerve. Sorry if I spoiled it for you, but we did have the spoilers.
I had no intention of watching it. It's like it sounds very much like an algorithm movie. Like it's just it everything about it is as formulaic as it could possibly be.
Well, yeah, because the train stuff looked a little CG. It looked shiny, looked very CGI. When she got kicked off the train, Kenny's mom, who was the conductor, it looked like a CGI fall, and she just fell on some rocks. And then they did the scare at the end. She opened her eyes. When Kenny got kicked off the original train in the original Terror Train, like he took a boot, it looked like a limp dead body was about to land in a body of water, and then he hits the ground instead and smashes against the ground, flips into the icy water, and then you watch this corpse floating down the icy water. And I was like, it felt a little bit more like eerie, where this felt very shiny, like she shot her eyes open, and she's like, I'm back to do it. So
yeah,
I was like, look, this was like, you could have watched this on fast forward. This is, again, it was a cool vibe of like the costumes on the train. I feel like train rides are low-key fun, and people forgot how cool it is to be on a train because they get bored. Now I was like, I want to go on a party train.
Yeah.
I don't know if it needs to be a terror train, but if you told me that there was going to be a costume party on a train, I'm going to go.
I mean, it worked in Trading Places.
Yeah, that's right.
So what is your Terror Train 3-second review?
The Terror Train
remake.
3-second.
What is your Terror Train remake 3-second review?
Terror Train 3-second review. Just released the original one in 3D.
Boom.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I want. But then again, I don't want to make Tubi mad because I love Tubi.
No, it's fine. Tubi's got lots of stuff. I love everything else on Tubi. If we don't like one thing on Tubi, it's actually Tubi. Call us and maybe we could pitch some remakes to you that we could do. You know what I mean? Like,
we totally can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could help. You know, I think we could. What remakes could we do for Tubi?
Oh wow.
I don't know what they have access to or what's around, but I mean, they're obviously leaning into the horror genre, right? Speaking of remakes,
Terror on Tubi,
Terror on Tubi, yeah.
Yeah, Terror on
Tubi. Speaking of horror remakes, I got to talk about this. If we can move on now, it's like you told me that Peacock is doing Crystal Lake.
Yes.
As a prequel series.
Yes, there she is, Mrs. Voorhees in all her glory.
So they're doing Friday. They've been hinting at this for weeks now, or months, that there was another Friday the 13th coming, and I had heard, and they were very public about it. The CEO of Shudder wanted the Friday the 13th remake, and they were
that would have been great.
They were gunning for it, but no, it went to Peacock. JJ, what's up? Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, JJ.
Sorry we couldn't have you on. I got Scottish flu and we don't want to spread that around. Happy birthday, JJ. But yes, Peacock got the Friday the 13th rights, it seems.
Are you worried about that as much as I am?
No,
I know JJ said that they have Peacock has a robust horror collection.
They do. But
I'm worried it's going to be too shiny.
I think I don't like anything about the announcement, honestly. I don't like the idea of a Friday the 13th prequel. I don't like the idea of it being on Peacock. I think that at its best, Friday the 13th parts like 1 through 8. The first 8 were like independent films. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like especially the first 4 or 5, it was just like, here's these crappy independent films that keep making money, and Paramount was buying them and distributing them. You know, they didn't produce them; they just realized they would distribute them and they'd make money. So it's like they kept doing it. And now you're going to go to Peacock, which has limitless amounts of money, to do a prequel series to Friday the 13th, which you're going to do a prequel series to a movie series that didn't get good until part 4 anyway. That seems ridiculous.
I got a theory.
Yeah.
I have a theory what happened.
Yeah.
So, because
someone was like, I like money though.
But the theory is, right, because we know, Sean Cunningham, the producer, and what was the original writer, Victor Miller?
Yeah.
So, who wrote the original one?
Oh, they had major beef.
Yeah, right. So they finally settled that beef. But do you think the squash was, okay, we're going to give you the rights back to the property that you wrote, which was Friday the 13th, Part 1, that had a Pamela Voorhees focus and no focus on Jason other than talking about him and then the little bald boy at the end. And Sean Cunningham is the one that owns not only the theatrical rights, but he owns the hockey mask, which didn't appear till 3. Shout out to the hockey mask.
Yeah.
Didn't appear till 3.
Shout out to Shelley.
Yeah, Shelley for bringing us that
pranks,
hockey mask.
We wouldn't have it.
Yeah, his beautiful pranks had actually got us the mask. So I think that's what was settled. I think it was settled fine. You own Friday the 13th, the original. Okay, and then they were like, cool. If I own the original, I'm going to show everything that happened before that. Because what I read was the theatrical rights are still not settled. It's only like, we're just going to do this for streaming, for television, and we're not going to talk about, because he said that Jason is going to appear or be referenced in the show in different ways that we haven't seen him before.
I have no faith in that.
I'm nervous about that. I'm very nervous about that.
That seems ridiculous to me.
Because I wanted, you got me psyched up to see Ty West bring Friday the 13th and have, it's cursed, ironically, right? Friday the 13th is cursed that they're stuck at 12 movies and we can't get that 13th movie.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. And just give it to Ty West and let him do the 13th movie.
Yeah.
Do you remember Friday the 13th, the series before with the haunted artifact? The guy that was running an old shop that had all these.
Yeah, I remember those.
And I don't think Jason was in that at all either, right? That was like a Friday the 13th type series.
Yeah, they were just trying to take the title and spin it off into some other series. Look, why do we want to know what happened to Jason as a boy? Like, is that what we want to watch? Do we want to watch? I mean, look,
I don't think they're going to be able to get graphic enough. Frankly,
I think that and the internet will shut me down, whatever. But here's my hot take. I think that Part 1 of Friday the 13th is one of the lesser enjoyable ones. I think the kills are really good. Okay. But I think from a filmmaking perspective, from a rewatchability perspective, I don't think it's that great. I don't think they got good until halfway to Part 3, and then Part 4 was really good. And the idea of doing a prequel series to Jason, it's just nonsensical. I don't understand. Who wants to see that? It's like if I told you, it's going back to like the original trilogy when it's like, oh, you like Darth Vader? Here's him as a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not into it at all. And it's just like, why? I don't know. It's going to have to be really well written for it to really get me. I don't like the premise at all.
And again, how deep are Peacock? Because Pamela Voorhees, she explained it, right? They were doing the things, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll instead of being lifeguards, and they let her boy drown. Are you going to be able to show the sex, drugs, and rock and roll?
On Peacock, you can show whatever you want. Yeah, you can show whatever you want on Peacock.
Really?
Yeah, it's a streaming channel. You can do whatever you want on the streaming channel.
I just keep thinking.
But the thing is, nobody cares about that anymore. Like, the whole thing about killing people for doing sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that was like repressive Republican Reagan 80s taking people out. And it's just, we don't live in that era anymore. You know what I mean? No one's repressed. Everybody has their own porno channel. It's just like no one's repressed. So how are you gonna do that in the same way? How are you gonna tell that story the same way? To me, you skip that completely. I I don't know.
The
man.
remake that they did try to skip that, right? And I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the remake, but I was happy to see him back in Jason versus OnlyFans.
That's
there
right.
it is.
Exactly. That's the way you would recreate it. Jason comes back and kills everybody who has an OnlyFans account.
Yeah, he just shows up during one of their live streams.
Because I mean,
and just takes them
kids
out.
aren't even drinking beer these days, so it's not even like you can, kill them for that.
No, they're like, oh wait, this is some kind of seltzer. Like,
Yeah.
and it's healthy. It's got antioxidants.
I'm
like,
drinking an
okay.
antioxidant seltzer. No one's even trying to have sex.
Not with real people, anyway.
No, they all have Japanese pillows.
And bots, yeah. My concern is like, okay, so even if you're going to try to turn this into like American Horror Story, which where they already tried to do like the 1984 camp type story, how much mileage can you get on a Crystal Lake series? How many seasons can you get out of that?
I don't know. I'm really curious to what their intentions are, because it does not seem like a lot of mileage.
You're going to have to completely rebuild mythology, which all you can really do is Pamela Voorhees, which if you rebuild her mythology, it kind of takes away from the original a little bit in a sense, right? Because she was supposed to be a very normal mom until they killed her boy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we've all seen Friday the 13th, so we know she's the killer now. That was like a twist moment. So how are you're gonna do that again? How are you gonna fool us? It doesn't make any sense. I think it's a terrible idea. The more we talk about it, I'm getting angry over here. I hate it. I hate it. This should have gone to Shudder. They should have done something. They would have done something smarter. A straight up remake or just somehow ground. I mean, it's essentially. It's Halloween. It's Halloween 2018, the remake, right? They could have done something like that in that vein, and maybe just do a sequel boot right off of the first one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think the prequel series just sounds ridiculous to me. I don't think it's a good idea.
My pitch would have been to somehow merge it with the VHS universe, and then we could have had a couple of short stories. The wrapper story would have been finding all these VHS tapes from Crystal Lake. And then you finally put it together like, oh, wow, this is Friday the 13th.
Do you think this will be set in the 80s?
It has to be, right?
If this is set in modern time, do kids don't go to camp, do they?
No, I don't think so.
Is that a thing?
Digital camp.
Yeah.
It's online camp.
And you can't
it's
have
Minecraft.
You can't have a Friday the 13th movie where anybody has a cell phone. If somebody has a cell phone, the movie's over.
Yeah, you're done.
So it has to be set in the 80s. Yeah, I mean, it goes against the idea of a Friday the 13th series goes against the whole thing that made the movies enjoyable. It was like a roller coaster ride. You go to see the kills, you go to see dummies getting themselves in trouble. Yeah, I hate this idea. I really I just think Sean S. Cunningham should be ashamed of himself.
Oh, I think he's letting them run with this as goodwill so he can get the rights that he really wants, which is the hockey mask, traditional Jason slasher flick. I don't think he's going to have anything to do with this except maybe an EP or EP credit. I think they're going to let Victor Miller run with this all.
Well, sure, whatever.
What if can you be sold on a backstory on Crazy Ralph to say why they're all doomed?
Crazy Ralph?
You're all doomed.
Yeah.
I told them.
How many times?
Because he was clearly like a peeping Tom. So I mean, again, and look, if you build all this new mythology, I don't think it's really going to have anything to do with Jason, right?
Who cares about Jason mythology? Does anybody care about Jason mythology? Like, what? Every movie you went to go see because it was like, oh, he's back and he's killing new kids, he's killing new teens. And that was what the movie was, and that's what you go to see. And not that you're going to see murder, but that's what the experience was. That's what the ride was. It's like if you go to a roller coaster ride that you love so much and you want to revisit it, and then you go back and it's like, okay, we redid the roller coaster ride you love so much, but now you just stand around in the lobby. and look at photos of what the roller coaster ride will be eventually, or something like that. You know,
I would have liked a Friday the 13th theme park. Yeah, I can get behind that.
I don't know.
I get it, man. I get it. And look, clearly I'm a mark. I got the shirt on, Camp Crystal Lake hat. You got the Camp Crystal Lake sign behind us. I'm a mark. Totally get it. But like, I'm not angry like you are. I'm nervous. I'm very nervous.
Well, I'm angry. You're nervous because you're afraid it might be bad. And I'm angry because I think it's going to be bad.
I got no heat with Peacock. I love 30 Rock just like everybody else. But like Peacock presents Crystal Lake. But I get it, man. You called us years ago before we even, you were like Yoda, like begun these content wars have. Mm-hmm. And people are just trying to snack up these IPs and they just saw an opportunity. Yeah. And it's ironic, like during all this mess, Paramount couldn't get this IP back. Because wasn't this Paramount?
Well, they never actually owned it. They just distributed the films.
Oh, got it. And that's what, the whole distribution right versus production rights gets confusing too, man.
Yeah.
And I know Incredible Hulk is kind of wrapped up in that too with Universal and Marvel. So, one of my fears is obviously I'm nervous it's going to be bad, but I'm also afraid that if this doesn't do well, people are going to be like, well, I guess no one wants Friday the 13th. And then it's done. And like, do we not? But do we want more? Right? We do.
I don't know.
It has to be smart.
I hope these friggin' suits that are coming up with these ideas are watching what's going on right now. Because, I mean, this is like the biggest year in horror ever all of a sudden. We've had so many, like, look, Smile, which looked like a parody. Like, it looks like the trailer looked like an SNL parody trailer. And it's doing great. It's like huge.
Oh, I love Smile.
Barbarian was huge.
Love that too.
Terrifier. A $200,000 slasher movie is like now in 1,000 theaters and is making like $10 million. It's blowing up and it's twisted and sick. People are throwing up on themselves in the theater, and like everybody is all in on horror. Okay.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sorry, like people are I'm just going to cut a promo real quick. People have been on this trip for a while where it's just like, oh, we need elevated horror. We need smarter horror. And it's so good when it's like elevated. And it's like, no, people like just people getting killed works still as a formula. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't need any kind of other fancy elements. And if you do that in a smart way, in a well-constructed way, it will work. And it works.
Yeah,
and I think that they're trying to elevate Friday the 13th, which was the most basic premise ever. It's like so simple,
Yeah. No, you're right, man. Joe Bob said the same thing. It's like, stop trying to elevate my horror. JJ's got a suggestion. Jason gets sequel booted where he's the head of a paper company. Hilarity ensues.
That's solid.
But no, you're right. It doesn't have to be elevated. But I am starting to get concerned, and you brought this up. And again, a lot of times you're ahead of the curve on a lot of this stuff, and then you really got it stuck in my head that, the Mount Rushmore of horror with Jason, Michael Myers, Freddy, and Leatherface. You're like, stop trying to push these on kids. This is like the equivalent of us doing that with Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and the Invisible Man.
Right.
Which I feel like, and I do feel like there's room for both. Like, you can revisit those 4 properties I just talked about, and if you do it right, you're going to do well. But a lot of people don't know how to do it right. And what's happening is when you don't do that right, but there's still the horror, just like the wrestling community and the horror community and the adult entertainment industry have a lot of similar stuff, and there's always going to be a fever for it. Sure. And then what's happening is these other ones are kind of sneaking in there, like It Follows and Smile and Barbarian, and those are all good movies, man. They're like solid movies, but they're not elevated. The budget's low, and they're being smart while not elevating, if that makes any sense.
Why do you
like
think
it's all about concepts?
Why do you think Terrifier is blowing up the way it is? I'm gonna watch that tonight. I think I'm gonna sign into Screambox and go ahead and watch it, because you can watch it for free with a free trial on Screambox right now. And I've been intimidated to see it in the theater because it's 2.5 hours, and I'm afraid of throwing up on myself. But like, I think, why do you think it's doing so well? These like gross slasher movies all of a sudden.
I think it's having this effect that Frankenstein had in the 30s, The Exorcist had in 73. And now, weirdly enough, in 2022, it's Art the Clown. When you find out that people are running out of the theaters or puking or not able to watch or gasping, it's like that SNL skit with Tom Hanks, and he's like, he drinks the milk. He's like, oh my God, this milk is spoiled. Here, taste this. And everybody had to taste it.
Yeah.
Just because you couldn't believe it. I think Art the Clown is having that effect.
Yeah.
And I still think, when that switch over happened to where clowns were scarier instead of, it never went away. I mean, dude, we were talking about writing a clown movie before they even remade it. This was like, we found our IT nightmare, right? And we're going to show that, and we pulled that.
Yeah.
But before we did that, we were actually going to do something with a clown.
The clown
next
movie.
thing
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, we talked about doing that. We had Chuckles and along those lines. So I think clowns right now are becoming timeless, and it can be any clown, right? It could be, because clown is not the character. The clown is the concept of like a terrifying clown. And he's like, and Mike B, he put this really well in the industry. He feels like the everyday clown. Like, he's not a supernatural clown like Pennywise that lives in a sewer and he's a shapeshifter. Art the Clown gets the prime rib at Denny's, and he like licks the plate when he's done.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
He feels real. He's a grounded concept.
Yeah.
I think between that and the thought of people running out of the theater, I think that's enough. And now he's a brand, and now he's going to be, you probably didn't get a lot this year, but you're going to get way more Art the Clown cosplay at the conventions. When we go to the convention coming up here in February, it's already that time of year, believe it or not.
Oh, I can't wait. Let's book the whole thing next time. I had a blast last time.
Yeah, I guarantee you we're going to see a ton of Art the Clowns.
Yeah.
And which we need to do. We're going to start seeing Art the Clowns like we see Michael Myers.
Yeah.
You know, because it's as a concept. So
yeah.
And if you do, you know, to give a shout out, you know, to put Tubi over one more time, if you just get Tubi, you can see the All Hallows Eve where Art the Clown made his debut in a short, and then you can watch Terrifier. Then you can jump over to Screambox and watch Terrifier 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just do a full review. I need to go in and watch that.
Just commit to one. Terrifier 1 is only 90 minutes. It's less of a bite. Like I said, a 2.5 hour horror movie it does intimidate me because I'm just like, I'm already so ADD. But like, Terrifier 1, I'll just put it over again. It is, you look at it and you think it's a red box movie. What a dumb clown killer concept. It's been done 1,000 times. It's something different, and you won't understand till you watch it. It's just like, you know, it's its own thing.
Shout out to David S. Pumpkins, who did also make his triumphant return to Saturday Night Live this past weekend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what's old is new again. And I think if you can tap into primal horror, to something that's kind of like deep into the recesses of our brains, you're going to have a success. And I think that whole, we don't know if you're happy or sad, because in the end, most people are trying to make everybody else happy so they can get, the reward system. If I make you happy, maybe you'll make me happy in return. And I think it's scary because clowns send us mixed messages. I'm trying to make you happy, but you're supposed to make me happy, but you're not happy. You're trying to kill me. That terrifies us as human beings because then we can't wrap our brains around what's happening.
Right.
And that's like an unknown thing. Like I don't know what's happening right now. And I think that's why clowns are enduring as sad. And look, I think what I talked about, it's getting that that buzz of just like people are puking and running out of theaters. You have a concept and I'm going to give credit to Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix. Joker kind of brought the crazy clown, also bad clown, to new heights. And Joaquin Phoenix did that, was that last year now or 2 years ago?
That was a few years ago, yeah. It's
been
a while.
But I think that's another one that brought it into the zeitgeist of just like, we don't know what's going on beyond this paint, and it scares us. And our imagination is making up stories, and we know our imagination is usually worse than reality.
Yeah. Well, there's something about a thing about a clown is it's a clown is demanding your reaction. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The clown is doing something to demand you to react, for you to react to. And whether if it's laughing, you know, usually it is, but what if it's just like not funny, but he's still demanding a reaction. So there's just there's an intrusiveness there. There's something that can get under your skin. This person in the face paint wants you to react to what they're doing.
It's very bossy. It's very bossy, and you have to do it. And and even if it's not funny, you're like, but what if I upset him? If I don't laugh, is he going to stab me with that knife? And
exactly.
It's like, the answer is yes. He's going to stab you.
Yeah, you have to watch the first one just so you can really understand where we are now as in the horror realm, because it's definitely an evolution now. I'm all in on Art the Clown. I get it. And I'm scared. Yeah. I'm scared to watch the next one.
I had a coin toss, and whether I regret it or not, I went with it, and I watched Hellraiser remake on Hulu instead of Terrifier.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that another day. I don't want to go through another remake, because we know it can go. Yeah, Jason in the style of Record would be good. Art Rec, which is good.
Yeah,
that would be cool to something along those lines. So, but all right, dude, I think it's time for let that Scottish flu settle. I think we got a spot here. We got a show. But if you're feeling up to it, if you want to do a spot show after dark on Friday, we can do that, or we can play it by ear.
Yeah, we'll play it by ear. Keep tune into our YouTube community posts to see what's going on.
Yes,
well, we'll be back in the studio next week.
Yes, back in the studio next week, JJ. We gotta we regret again. Happy birthday. We had assets. We were gonna make it a whole birthday gimmick.
Well,
show.
JJ, we'll get you in for the birthday show, because House Show Live is also gonna have a birthday this month.
Yeah, so maybe it'll just be a whole birthday thing, because we love themes. We love themes here, and we got themes coming the rest of the year, and that's good. We a Halloween theme. This Halloween hangover show, this will be the last of our Halloween hangover. We're getting ready for some birthdays, some turkey days, some Christmas days, some whatever holiday you celebrate days coming up. So yeah, like, subscribe, and share, and check out our community posts. JJ, I don't know if you noticed that YouTube moved some stuff around. So we got a spot for shorts, we got a spots for longs, we got a spot for community. Look out, social media, every social media. YouTube is coming to get ya, meatballs.